Hey, scrapbook friends, it's Nicole, and I'm coming to you with the month 2 installment of Savvy Scrapbookers, where myself and my two great Creative Memories Advisor friends, Debbie Martin and Donna Guest, will be creating layouts. Each of us will be creating one double-page layout using the same collection. And if you do all three of our layouts, you will not need to buy multiples of any of the items. So this month, what we're using is the Tropic Time Designer Paper Pack and the embellishments. We're not using any of the stickers or the mats or anything like that this time. We're just going to be using the paper and the embellishments, and I'm going to be using the Monstera Leaves Border Punch. I think Debbie might be using this one too. So we're going to use both of those. We're going to create this layout, and then when you're done with mine, look in the item description and you'll hop over to Donna's and to Debbie's and you can do theirs, and hopefully you won't have too many leftovers and you won't have to buy any duplicate products. All right, let's get going. All right, for my layout, I'm using 4 of the papers from the Designer Paper Pack. We're going to be using this piece that's kind of a blue, tealish blue grid. The back is the green leaves, or the blue with green leaves, because the other one's green leaves too. We're going to be using the yellow suns. The back is this other grid. We're going to be using the kind of white pebbles. The back is this decorative piece. I got to tell you, I had trouble that I didn't find a way to use this, but with the combination of papers, it just was too much. But if you decide you want to use this, there are ways you can do that. And then this one with the green fern leaves. The back is little tiny flowers. So those are the pieces that you're going to need to pull out for my layout. And then we're going to be using some of the embellishments. I'm actually not using this one. This is one of the ones that was assigned, that I drew in the division of assets. Here comes the sun. I'm not using that one. I'm using the pink sun. There is a yellow, more of a yellow glossy sun, but I'm using the pink one. Then I'm using the 2 Monstera leaves that aren't glossy, the 2 matte ones. I'm using this little Monstera leaf journal box, Monstera leaf. I'm using this one with the bird on it. I'm not really using it completely like this. I'm kind of covering up a lot of it. So if you didn't want to use this one, you wouldn't have to. If you like that, you want to use it for something else, you can. I'm using the little frame with also more of these leaves. Then you can choose. There are 2 word titles that ended up in my pile, the We're Staying and the Tropic Time. So I used Tropic Time. I don't know. I'm not sure which one of these is going to work for the layout that I want to do, but we'll see how that works out. I'm using one of the sets of 3 palm trees. This does have the glossy surface. And then there are 3 flowers, and I don't think I used the white one, but you might want to. So we're using the big red flower, which is glossy. We're using the medium-sized red flower, which is not glossy, and then the white, which is glossy. So you see there's 3 sizes right there. These are the 3 that are set aside for my project that neither of the other girls will be using. And then we'll be using 2 strips of the gems, 1 of the big ones and 1 of the small ones. And again, these are optional. These are pretty rigid, kind of lumpy. And I know that a lot of Creative Memory scrapbookers prefer not to use a lot of dimension or bumpiness in their albums. They are going to go kind of to the outside if you choose to use them. And I think they'll be all right. But if you don't want to use them, I'm not going to make you. All right, so we're going to set those aside for now. And what we're going to do is use this blue grid paper and the white pebble paper as the base for our layout. So we're going to set those aside. We're going to use the yellow as photo mats, but the fun is going to be with this green leaf paper. All right, and the Monstera Leaves Punch. This is actually a technique that I may have originally learned from Debbie Martin, so I think it's only appropriate that I use that in this layout that I'm doing in my collaboration with her. So what we want to do is fold our paper on the diagonal. whenever I fold paper diagonally, what I like to do is to take just my thumbnail and just kind of pinch the corner to get the corner started. All right, so I've just kind of got this sharp edge so that I know that the corner is going to be as perfect as I can make it. I've done that on both corners, and so then I'll match the point, come up along the side here to that corner that I already started, kind of do the same thing here. It doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't have to be exact. It's not a huge deal if it's not exact, but it does kind of help if you can get it as straight as you can. Then I like to just take my thumbnail or the multi-purpose tool and kind of scoot down this edge to make it really flat, because whenever we're going to punch through double layers, you want to make it as easy as possible. Now, if you don't have the Monstera Leaves punch, you could use a different punch. You want it to be a chain style punch that's going to remove from the paper, not one that stays attached. We've had a couple of other leaf punches. You don't want it to be too fancy. If it's really intricate or delicate, I tried using it with a garden vine maybe, and it just kept getting caught. I like this one because it's a little bit more robust, but you could try it with a different punch. This would not work with the Border Maker system because we are cutting along this diagonal line, which is longer than the 12 inches that the Border Maker system uses. So it doesn't really matter where you punch this. I'm going to go ahead and start just in the middle. And again, I'm punching through 2 layers. Let's zoom in a little bit. All right. Pull that forward. I guess I can push myself back. Okay, so we're going to punch through 2 layers. And it's kind of centered, but it absolutely doesn't matter. So I'm going to punch. It does take a little extra effort to punch through 2 layers. But always make sure when you're using a border punch that you cover up the design, the blue, so none of the blue is showing, and then you press your straight edge against this little back fence, and that's just going to ensure that you get a better straight punch cut. And because I put this together and crease that edge, it is cutting very nicely, but just be very careful, and as you slide it down, make sure that you don't get caught. All right, and now we're going to go just finish up in the other direction. And I just found this easier than trying to start on one of these corner kind of pointy ends. But I'm doing the same thing here. I'm pressing it back against the fence and punching in. Goodness, everything is falling off my table with this punch. You do have to punch a little harder, more firmly, because you are punching through 2 layers. Okay, there's my tape runner. My Border Maker just fell over. All right. Okay, so here are my 2 pieces now that I've punched through, because I punched through both layers. I have these 2 pieces that are quite long. I don't even know how long they are. This is 12 inches, and they're more like probably 15 or 16 inches long, which is why you can't use the Border Maker. So I've got 2 of those. And now, just to make it a little bit more hard for everyone, but I thought it looked so much nicer this way, we're going to put these back together and punch them again. Now, if you had trouble punching through 2 thicknesses, you can absolutely punch these separately. You don't have to punch them together. But I found that as long as I just kind of held this together, I was able to punch through both layers. And again, we're punching along this straight edge that we just cut. And just make sure that you're straight. And we punch off the edge here. Keep making sure that these 2 pieces stay together so that the punch will align all the way down. Okay, see, this one, it went off the edge, so I don't have to worry about the other piece, but I still want to punch the border. Okay, and straighten this back up. So you may decide you'd rather just punch them separately, and which is fine. So here we go. Got this side now lined up. It is a little bit harder with this one that's not folded and stuck together. I swear it wasn't this hard when I did my practice one. And then again, this last little piece, we're just going to clean that up. Making sure that the two pieces are in alignment with each other so that both of them get punched nicely. Okay. Okay, so there are our two other pieces, and then we're going to get rid of all of this confetti that we don't need. I always suggest that people put a scrap paper under their punch when they punch to catch the confetti, and then I never remember to do it myself. But now we're going to take the Yellow Suns piece and we're going to cut that into 6 photo mats. So the most efficient way to get photo mats out of a 12 by 12 piece of paper is if you cut your mats to 4 by 6. And one of the things that I've learned from Noreen Smith is that it's easier to cut your mats 4 by 6 and then trim your photos down a little bit to fit than it would be to, you know, you would only be able to get 4, like 4 1/4 by 6 1/2 mats if we wanted to leave a little bit of a border. You could always use the Variety Mat Pack for this step. Mix and match some of these mats with that. But it's plenty easy to cut 6 mats out of 1 paper. And that's all the cutting we have to do for this whole layout. It's super easy, but I think it looks very pretty and kind of dramatic. So this is a busier layout because we are using designer paper for all of it. If you feel like this is too much for you, which I know last time I got a lot of feedback that people liked the simpler. Some of you guys liked the busier version, but some of you like the simpler. So if you would prefer to have like a simpler background, you could use a different background. You could use white. You could put this just on your white page. You could use the dark sea green, I think would look nice. You could use a green, but the patterns, I think for this kind of a busy theme, it works with that. So we're going to take the 2 corner pieces that are left over. If you need to straighten out your edge, you can see right here, like I wasn't quite precise. So I guess I'm not quite done with my trimmer. Just going to kind of clean up that edge just a hair. Go line this up. I just cleaned that edge up a smidge so I have a nice pretty edge to work with. And when I was playing with this layout, you could use this back side on the blue paper if you wanted to, but I think it looks better with the green on both sides. This was too much for me. I think this one is a little bit more subtle with the green. And then you've got your 4 things of leaves that you've punched, and just make sure that you have 2 of them that are longer. You can see these 2 are longer than my 12-inch page. And then these 2 are shorter. So you need 1 long one for each. And this is going to be the closest to the middle. And then 1 of the shorter ones. And it doesn't really matter which side, which of the papers you put it on. Because, you know, you cut 2 basically that were identical. So you're going to line this up. And then stick these down. I would definitely use repositionable adhesive for this. Stick these pieces down, just lining up the corners. This little angled edge is what helps you to make sure that these are straight the way they need to be. And then I chose to put my photo mats, 2 of them on this side horizontal and 1 vertical. And then on this side, I'm going to do 2 vertical and 1 horizontal. But you could change this up If you needed to, you could absolutely do it like this, depending on what your photo configuration is. You could even, you know, do all verticals, all horizontals, however you want to do it. But I like the variety of having some pictures vertical and some horizontal. So let's hope that I can get my photos to work on this layout. Then we're going to take our embellishments and do some clustering to enhance. So the easiest one is going to be down here in this lower right corner. I'm going to use the pink sun and the palm trees. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the little strip of rainbow gems kind of down here on this corner. And then in the lower left corner, this is where I use this one that has the parrot. I don't know what kind of bird that is, that fancy white bird. Actually, I'm going to move this guy up a smidge so I can put this little parrot down here. But I basically covered up the parrot because that didn't match the theme of what I'm going to be using this layout for. Then I'm going to put this little leaf mat up here. I am not using this Here Comes the Sun. You absolutely could. You could put it here. You could put it over here. You know, depending on what your layout is, I think you could, you know, you could work this one in if this works better for you. You could definitely put that one. I'm not going to use it. And I don't know actually if either one of these work perfectly for what I'm going to use, but I'm going to go with Tropic Time. And then up here at the top on this little Monstera leaf, I'm going to take these two bigger leaves and put one kind of this way, just barely onto the mat, one off the mat. And then my two red flowers on here. And I do think I am going to take the white flower and I might even pop this up on a foam square and put it like right there in the corner. Okay, but before I stick any of this down and show you the final product, I'm going to kind of stop the video, switch this all over to maybe some plain background pages, just to give you guys a different look, see if that's something that you might like better to have, you know, less busy background. Of course, that then does leave you with a couple extra sheets of the designer paper, which kind of ruins our whole Savvy Scrapbookers thing. But I know that this layout might be a little bit busy for some of you. So through the magic of video, now I'm going to magically turn this into the same layout, completely different. All right. Woo. All right. So here we have the same layout, but this time I did it on the dark sea green cardstock background. And it makes it look very, very different. So here's my original sample. All right. And here it is on the dark sea green. So I think you could also do it with like the beige or kind of a sandy paper or a white. I actually like white because there's white around the embellishments. I think that would make that really pop and look really nice. So I'd love to hear what you decide to do as far as what you're going to use for your background. But I'm going to go ahead and pull this back off and put it on the layout just like I started, the original layout that uses all the papers just from the designer paper pack. And then I have some pictures. My family and I recently went to Disney World and we saw this cool tree lady. Her name is Divine. And so I have some pictures of her and I've cut these down to 3.5 by 5.5 so that I can use these on these mats. So I'll be right back to adhere the pictures and stick everything down and show you the finished layout product. All right, I've got all the pictures adhered. I went ahead and put the little gems on this top left corner and the bottom right corner. Put the small ones at the top and the big ones at the bottom. I like to I always like to do that. If I've got two sizes of things, there's a thing called visual weight. So I like to put the lighter weight things at the top and the heavier weight things at the bottom. Don't know if that really matters. And remember this card that I said I wasn't going to use? I mean, I might use it on a different layout, but I realized I needed a space to journal and this paper was all really busy. So I just used the back of it. And I can't decide. I think I might put it right down here, kind of in a cluster. Or right, I don't know, right over there. I think maybe I'll put it right here. I don't know. Kind of like it at the beginning too. Ugh. Hard to decide. I think I'll put it down here. So of course you can use, you know, you could use this Here Comes the Sun, but for something else. But I'd use it for a journal box. So there we go. And I'll probably do some kind of a title. I usually do titles with my silhouette. I noticed that a lot of the scrapbook layouts these days are kind of going away from titles, and that honestly is very freeing, to not have to feel like every page needs a title. But I don't know. I guess I'm a little old school. And now I think this is a little bit too heavy with this down here. Too much down at this side. Oops, tape stuck to my picture. I'll get that off later, but I think I'm going to put it over here. I'll put it right here. Trying to keep it in the clusters. Okay, it's going to go right here, and then I'll just come back and take this adhesive off my pictures. All right, there you go. Finished project. A little bit more of my thought process than maybe I usually give to you, but I hope that you liked the technique of folding the page and punching along the diagonal to get these diagonal borders. And I'm super excited to see what you do with this layout technique. Be sure to go down into the video description and get the links to Debbie and Donna's videos using Tropic Time. And we would love it for you to share with us, whoever's your advisor or any of us that you interact with on social media, for you to share with us your interpretation of these layouts that we have taught you for our February Savvy Scrapbookers collaboration. Thanks very much and happy scrapbooking.